that prefer for those that prefer to listen to this presentation in English, at the end of all the language room instructions, you will see a globe icon appear on your screen. Please click on the icon and select English. You will automatically join the English room. If you cannot find the globe icon, please click More, located at the bottom of your screen, select Language Interpretation, select English, and click Done. Para los padres de familia que quieren escuchar esta presentación en español, cuando terminemos de ofrecer todas las instrucciones de cómo entrar a un cuarto de interpretación, en la parte inferior de su pantalla encontrará un icono del mundo. Haga clic en el icono y seleccione español. Usted automáticamente entrará al cuarto de interpretación en español. Si no encuentra el icono del globo, haga clic donde dice More, localizado en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Seleccione Language Interpretation, seleccione Español y presione Done. Usted escuchará el audio original a un 20% de volumen. Si no quiere escuchar el audio original, presione Mute Audio Original. So if everyone can please join your preferred language at this moment. We have English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Somali, and Vietnamese. If anyone has difficulties joining the room, please write down in the chat which room you would prefer to join this evening. Young, are you able to provide the instructions in Vietnamese if you toggle back to English?
You're muted. We can't hear you.
While we're waiting for the Vietnamese, can we have our Chinese interpreter provide instructions? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Next slide, Elise. Now we will have a Russian interpreter. Tatiana, if you can toggle back to the English room. Yes, just in Russian. Thank you. Thank you, Tatiana. Ferdosa, if you can please provide the instructions to join the interpreter's room when you click the English room. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Next slide, Elise. So again, everyone, if you want to listen to this and to this presentation in English, you must select the English room. Thank you. Thank you, Brooke.
Okay, hopefully everybody is in our rooms that we need for today. I just want to take a moment to welcome all of you for learning where we are in our language arts adoption process. And I do want to give a very special thanks to our interpreters that are joining us today and helping with interpretation services. So, my name is Brooke O'Neill, and I am the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for David Douglas School District. And as I mentioned, we are here to share our adoption process with you. And also by the end of today, you'll be able to see where we are with our publishers and who we're considering. And also we're going to share with you an opportunity to give feedback. So for those families and community members that wanted to be here tonight but are not able, we are recording, so you can go back and you can watch at a later time. So before we get started, I just want to say that the decision that we're going to make with language arts materials is going to last us for the next 7 years. And David Douglas is very lucky that we follow the state adoption cycle. So every 7 years, a new content area comes up for adoption. And at the state level, that means they look at the standards, what students should know and be able to do. And then they also look at the instructional materials that go along with those standards that help teachers to teach to those standards. So we're making a very important decision about instructional materials that will be in our classrooms for the next 7 years. And I do want to say, when we talk about language arts, what we mean is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. That's what language arts encompasses. So Elise, next slide, please. Okay, so our agenda for tonight, we're going to do we just did a welcome. We'll do some more introductions. We're going to share with you our adoption process so far, so you can see how we got to this point and what we still need to do. You're going to hear from 2 different publishers. We started off with 7 different publishers that we were looking at their programs, and we've narrowed it down to 2. And we need your input to narrow it down to that final selection. And then we're going to close and we're going to review with how you can give input and the timeline. So to get us started, I do want to pause and have our leadership team introduce themselves. They have been integral to this process and helping plan our adoption, and they're here with us tonight and will be presenting. So I will turn it over to Elise to introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elise Hall, and I am Assistant Director of Title Programs, and been working very intently on this process and excited about our options that we are working with. And I'm going to turn it over to Carrie Foster.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Foster, and I am the Online Curriculum Integration Coordinator here at David Douglas, and also a former 4th grade and kindergarten teacher at Mill Park and Ventura Park.
Thank you, Elise and Carrie. And not with us tonight is Francesca Altman. She is our School Improvement Coordinator at Alisat Elementary, or Alisat Middle School, I'm sorry. And I should say that while tonight we're focusing on our elementary adoption, we are currently adopting materials at elementary, middle school, and high school. So on the screen here, you see our elementary teacher representatives. And if you know any of these teachers, please tell them thank you. They have given countless hours with our process as a learner. learning new things about reading and adoption processes, and also helping us narrow our selection and piloting. And Carrie's going to tell you a lot more about that a little bit later. But you can see on the screen, we have all of our schools represented on the committee. We have 28 elementary teachers, and we have 2 principals that also join all of our committee meetings. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Carrie, who is going to share with you our process and how we got to this point tonight.
Thank you, Brooke. This is our language arts adoption timeline here in David Douglas. We have a very thorough process that takes about a year. The Language Arts Adoption Committee was formed last spring. These teachers volunteered to be on the committee, knowing it was a very heavy time commitment. This year-long commitment includes professional learning on the science of reading, anti-racist, anti-bias training, systematic review of all state-approved curriculum, and data analysis of student feedback. The committee members have engaged in over 45 hours of synchronous and asynchronous work for this adoption thus far, and there's a lot more to come. Next slide, please. So elevating student voice has been a very important part of our adoption process because they are our primary stakeholders. We gathered student voice in 2 different ways: through a student survey given to students in grades 3rd through 12th, and through some student empathy interviews conducted in grades 1st through 12th. Student empathy interviews are students telling us their stories about reading and writing and what matters to them. For example, we asked students to tell us about a time that learning was exciting or interesting at school. We also asked students to tell us what they wish they could spend more time reading and writing about at school. So we learned there were several themes of what students want in a curriculum. Those themes included content that connects current times and issues that students face in their lives, learning about their own culture and other cultures, lessons and books that represent multiple perspectives and identities, that the curriculum they want includes interactive assignments and experiences. Students want choice in what they learn, read, and write about. And they also want multiple ways to learn and show what they learned. We also learned that students really want the opportunity to be creative. Next slide, please. So in addition to student voice, there are other drivers of our priorities that are represented on this screen. So you saw before that we go through a very thorough vetting process. As you can see, there are a lot of things that drive our local priorities here in David Douglas. So it includes our Freedom Dream #1 that was developed by our staff of color, looking at research, analyzing our data and student feedback, partnering with the Oregon Department of Education by reviewing ODE's score sheet for each curriculum and learning about how each publisher aligns with state adoption criteria. We also have been able to participate in several anti-racist, anti-bias trainings. The most recent training included analyzing text through an anti-racist, anti-bias lens. All of these components here helped us develop our local priorities for adopting the next language arts curriculum in David Douglas. Next slide, please. So all of our learning and feedback narrowed down to these 6 priorities. And this is what the adoption team really looks at when we're reviewing curriculum. So they include student representation in text, embedding universal designs for learning, allowing students to demonstrate their understanding in various ways, scaffolding that support differentiation, and building background knowledge to set students up for success in units and projects that they will engage in. So currently, our teachers are in the process of piloting and trying out lessons. As they are implementing the curriculum, they are looking for the degree to which these priorities are embedded within the curriculum. So you will see these priorities again in the community survey. You will be telling us which of these are the most important priorities for your student to succeed. Your feedback will be a very important consideration for our team as they make a recommendation for our next language arts adoption curriculum. Next slide.
Thank you, Carrie. I'd like to share with you the role that you play and how important this is. So we're asking you to reach out if you're comfortable to a representative from any of the schools where your children attend to learn more about the materials. There is someone at each of those schools who has been part of this process since we started last spring. We're also asking and making available to you a demo account of each of the curriculum that we are reviewing. The demo account is available online so that you can click on a link and see the materials that students would be using during this pilot season, and then also that would be available to them. When we move into our final decision for adopting a curriculum, we will have physical materials. Students will have books in their hands. They will have materials to work with. Teachers will have large books and posters to work with. But for now, our demo account allows us to see what is available to us in a really comfortable way, because we can look at it online in the comfort of our own home. So we invite you to click on and see what is available and what students will see in each of these curriculum. Most importantly is that we ask you to respond to the survey that we have available on our website, and we'll show you how to find that. This survey is important because it gives us direct data. Your feedback directly will impact the decision that we make around the materials that we do adopt. And so we do ask that you fill out that survey, no matter how deep you've dived into the curriculum, because that survey is really about our priorities and what your priorities are. So we would like to see that. And by the beginning of spring break is when we ask that survey to be completed. So as you're moving in and transitioning into spring break, know that we're asking you to complete that survey and give that feedback to us so we can use that in our decision making. Let me tell you a little bit about the survey. So in the survey, you will find an online on our David Douglas District website, you will find links to explore the materials. And then you will also find a link to the survey. And the survey has been translated in all of our top 5 languages. So you can click on the survey that best meets your needs. It's very short, and we ask for just some brief demographic information, such as which school does your student attend? What grade levels are they in this year? And then what do you believe of the 6 priorities we shared with you this evening are the most important priorities for your student to succeed academically? We truly believe that all 6 of the priorities that our team has chosen are priorities. They are all very, very important. But your feedback will help us delineate what is most important to our community so that we can find the curriculum that best meets the needs of all of our stakeholders. There will be another question that asks you, if you had a chance to review the materials, which one did you think best meets the needs? It is an optional question if you have looked through the materials, the demo account. And then also there finally is an optional questions or comments you would like to leave for us that we can read through when we are moving into our decision-making phase. Again, all of this is due by the beginning of spring break so that we have a chance to organize this data and make it available to our decision-making team, our teachers who have been in this process since last spring. They are our decision-making group. So our next steps from this presentation tonight is that our teachers are starting to pilot the materials with the students in their classroom to try them out. We know that they have gone through an intensive vetting process at the state level and even at the national level, but we want to see how they respond in our classrooms, how our teachers use the materials. Do they meet our needs? So our teachers are piloting those materials, and that's starting just this week for elementary. We're asking for our families in our community to give us feedback through the family survey. And then our Language Arts Adoption Committee is going to review this, the information from our that they've taken from piloting the materials. They are also asking the students that they worked with these materials to give their feedback on them, and then our community feedback. All of this feedback directly ties in together and is data that we will use in our decision-making process. So we're making that recommendation to the board on May 12th of what is our final choice, what best meets our needs of our students, of our community, and of our teachers. And then those materials will be implemented in our schools next year in all of our K through 5 classrooms. So to find the demo accounts, the resources, and the survey, you're going to click on to the David Douglas School District website. And in that website, you will see under the screen that scrolls, that rotates, under that is our latest news. And there you will see the link to the website, the page that shows where the resources are and the survey. And at the end of the presentation tonight, I can show you how to find that and click through those links on that web page to find the demo materials and to see the survey.
Okay, so now is the exciting time to see like what materials are we looking at, and I'm really pleased to invite Benchmark Education to join the room. So Luana, if you haven't already, can you please move over our presenter this evening, Stacy Owens from Benchmark Education. As an audience, you will have, they will present for 15 minutes, and then at the end, we'll have an opportunity, 5 minutes for question and answer. And the idea tonight is for you to see from your students' perspective, what would their experience be like if we were to adopt benchmark education materials? What does these curricular materials have to offer us? So we would like to invite Stacy to present her screen. We'll stop presenting.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Welcome, Stacy. We're excited to have you and to learn more about benchmark education.
Well,
And
I'm excited to be here.
Great. And I also want to introduce Jen Richter, if you want to say hi, Jen, and who you are.
Hi, everyone. We're excited to be here. Happy to be alongside of you in this journey as you're exploring literacy resources for students. We are thrilled to be able to show you what the life of a student might look and sound like as you explore our resources.
Great. Okay, so the time is yours, and you will have 6:45, and then we'll take questions from 6:45 to 6:50 if there are any.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. So excited to be here with you tonight and partner with you in your English language arts review. So just going to take you through a little bit of what a student would see if they were using the Benchmark Advanced material. So we're excited. Tonight, I'd love to introduce you to our Benchmark Advanced. It's a comprehensive and integrated literacy program that supports students to connect, learn, grow, and act. And you're going to see the students' perspective this evening. So as we journey on, your students will connect with 10 knowledge building units throughout the school year. Each unit is aligned to social studies, science, or literacy topics that invite students to connect with diverse perspectives around a unit topic and connect to real world. You'll notice here that the perspectives are the same. It says a turn and talk opportunity. These units topics are the same in every grade level, and they grow in complexity from year to year. In this 4th grade example, students are exploring how we respond to nature. And every unit begins with igniting curiosity and joy and providing students rich experiences in which they connect to real world challenges. Learners engage with their classmates, sharing perspectives on the topic and also listening and growing in their own views. The essential question and benchmark advance are designed to cultivate curiosity. They don't even have a right or wrong answer. Students ponder and explore their questions and then think for themselves based on what they have learned across the unit and the text that they have read. So critical thinking starts right from the very beginning with benchmark advance. In the 3-week unit also builds equity. We know that every student needs an on-ramp to learning, and we begin building equity and knowledge right through pictures and videos. We support students as they acquire knowledge and rich vocabulary centered around the unit topic. We want to encourage students to use this language as they listen, speak about the topic throughout those 3 weeks. Students will be introduced to an essential question through discussion, as well as viewing a video, sparking conversation that connects with what they may already know about the topic. Let's listen in as we see how students are connected to the unit topic in this video launch about nature.
Observing nature. The British artist and writer William Hazlitt said, "We do not see nature with our eyes, but with our understandings and our hearts." Nature inspires awe and wonder, captures our imaginations, and makes us think about the world around us in a new way. How do we respond to nature?
So you'll see that essential question pulls right out at the very beginning. At the end of all the 3-week units, connections continue beyond the walls of the school with the My Reading and Writing and the text for close reading, interactive texts that go home with the students, reinforcing ownership of both text and learning. The take-home activity calendars show caregivers and students how they can interact together and connect their experiences around the unit topic and even continue. I'm so sorry. Continue the learning at home. That was my fault. Pardon me there. In the take-home activity calendars, they show caregivers how they can interact and extend those learning opportunities. We also have introduction letters that go home to parents and families. They're available in multiple languages and support this homeschool connection. These materials also provide a fun opportunity and inspiring ideas to kind of keep the learning going from home. Families with multiple grade level students will appreciate learning similarities, making for fun conversations in the drive home from school or even around the dinner table. There we go. Thank you, and thanks for your patience on
Miguel's prophecy.
Here you're going to see the students' texts are completely interactive, and they are digital for both teachers and students.
They peeked. They gasped. It was a baby wolf.
Students can connect with their learning on multiple devices. They can even engage with print and online media. Benchmark is a one-stop shop for students to engage and connect with their learning. These texts are also located in Benchmark Universe, which is our online portal. Of all of these resources, they're device agnostic. That means that they work on any device. We even have an app that allows students to access text offline, which is great for those busy on-the-go students and families, or if we might find ourselves in a social distance learning space. Here, you're going to see our online portal, Benchmark Universe. We understand the importance of building strong school and home partnerships, and Benchmark Universe's easy-to-use platform strengthens this connection. You may have received the community engagement flyer that shows the digital platform and login information earlier before this evening. You will see that here on the screen is a sample of what you'll notice once you log in. You'll notice there are 4 main boxes on the screen. You can also access this through this QR code that is scanned on the screen. We can do this at the end of the presentation as well, and I'm happy to walk you through this process. You may want to jot down this code right now, or we'll show it again at the end. Let's start with box number 1 in the top left-hand corner. This is the library. Students will have a full library of ebooks that they can read, listen, and engage with additional reading from home. In box 2 in the upper right-hand column, you'll notice this is where the teacher will place assignments for your students. On box number 3 at the bottom right, you will notice that there is an opportunity to have a reading log, and whoops, box 3 is our reading log. So sorry, just getting myself oriented a little bit here, which allows students to celebrate their reading along the way and even track their own progress. And finally, there's a message for messages in an inbox that works just like normal messages or inboxes anywhere, where students can communicate with their teacher and their teacher will communicate with them. Students in all grades engage in foundational skills, which are key to learn how to unlock words and meaning from text. Students watch as their teachers model initial instruction, and then teachers invite students to engage in their learning through various related songs and interactive games. Students then try on the learning themselves through independent practice and application opportunities. Take a look here as we see how we introduce and represent the letter E.
The letter E. The tiny little engine was excited to see every which way he could write a letter E. So here's what he did. He saved his energy and learned to write a big E. Here's how he did it. You make one line down from the top to the ground, lift back to the top and slide to the right. Do the same in the middle and the bottom. You see you've made an uppercase E. Now let's make a lowercase e. Let's start in the middle, then slide to the right. Circle back around, not hard at all, right? Don't let it close and then you'll see you've made a lowercase e. The tiny little engine was excited to say he knew every which way to write the letter E. He did uppercase E and lowercase too. And guess what now? So can you. So can you.
So I dare you not to be singing the letter E later on tonight. Notice how these students are encouraged to interact by using their bodies, to sing and to move throughout to build critical foundational skills.
The letter E.
Our e-pocket charts also support a variety of foundational skills, including letter knowledge, word building, sound correspondence, and print correspondence, so much further. These fully customizable materials are perfect for meeting the needs of all students. They're a great way for students to get in additional practice building and manipulating, playing with sounds, and building words and sentences.
With Benchmark Advance, students at grades K, 1, and 2 will have access to interactive games for practicing foundational skills. In the balloon pop game, students throw darts to pop balloons that match the element, skill, or concept labeled on the box. This game provides practice with concepts of print, sound spelling correspondence, affixes, word families, and word and letter matching. In the sorting game, students drag images or words into the correct box. This game can be used to practice skills such as phonological and phonemic awareness, sound spelling correspondence, and word families. The Word Builder game allows students to practice word building, spelling, and concepts of print by dragging and dropping letter tiles into the correct box. And finally, the memory game lets students match like items. This type of game provides practice for skills such as phonological and phonemic awareness, sound spelling correspondence, word families, and word and letter matching. Games will include a way for students to check their answers and, when appropriate, a summary of their performance. All of these games can be assigned by teachers and accessed by students from both school and home. With Benchmark Advance, students will have access to interactive, fun, and engaging games for practicing those important foundational skills.
So we're not all just work without any fun. We actually add in those nice and interactive games, because who doesn't love games after all? Next, lastly, we'll take a look. Each student will get their very own write-in book or text. This is where students actually apply those phonics and literacy skills in authentic reading and writing opportunities, making the learning truly stick. This takes place in our My Reading and Writing student write-in text for students in grades kindergarten and first grade, and in our text for close reading materials for our students in grades 2 through 5. Students receive 10 of these write-in material books throughout the school year, one for each focused unit. And in it, these write-in texts is where students read, annotate, highlight, write in, listen, talk, and explore everything around that unit topic. This is where they acquire all that knowledge and put it into one place. Our program reflects the science of reading research that includes foundational reading skill competencies that most of us are really familiar with, but also the knowledge-based competencies that focus on knowledge building and comprehension. Benchmark Advance teaches both. We know how important it is for students to build knowledge from diverse perspectives. So with each subsequent text, students begin to layer their knowledge, expand their vocabulary, and deepen the concepts and ideas across the 3 weeks. This supports equity because diverse perspectives are included, as well as social, emotional, and culturally responsive practices are woven throughout. See here, you will see an example of a 4th grade text. Here, learners interact and discuss their learning throughout the unit, observing nature. Whoops. Let me show you 4 of those texts that are in that one. I'm going to go right back for it so you can actually see it. Those 4 texts layer throughout that unit, building in complexity and giving students an opportunity to practice what they're learning. The first text, John Burroughs, who was a popular nature writer who helped start the conservation movement, we take a peek into his world in the text, Catskill Mountains in New York. In the second text, we'll notice we see Xiao Wenwen, an award-winning novelist from Beijing, China, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, please pardon me on that pronunciation. But we take a peek into the rural village and to see how children are interested and curious about places different from their own experiences. And the third text in that My Text reading is we will jump into Eddie Harris's world, a journalist, a travel writer, and a filmmaker from the Midwest who takes us in his adventures of paddling a canoe on the Mississippi River from Minnesota to New Orleans. And lastly, Marjorie Canal Rawlings, a Pulitzer Prize winner, takes us to the backwoods of Central Florida to visit a secret spring in the woods. So our texts are rich and diverse, creating big or deep knowledge with our students. Students are already supported with vast perspectives that they explore the essential question. How do we respond to nature? And now that perspective expands as we dive into additional 8 to 12 titles per unit, with building, learning, and knowledge base along the way. Students then have the opportunity to dive into additional learning through small group opportunities, providing even more diverse perspectives. As students build their content knowledge, as well as their language and vocabulary, it makes it easier for students to access the text, as the new levels of text complexity and support comprehension through reading, writing, listening, and speaking about the topic. Opportunities for students don't end there. We then extend out to read alouds and a vibrant readers theater, offering students an opportunity to be characters in books and stories. So much learning and so much fun. Benchmark actually commissioned a diverse group of published trade book authors to use their rich storytelling skills to write and build text sets for Benchmark Advance. Authentic literature is as anchor text for whole group instruction as well. In kindergarten and grade 1, authentic trade books are provided in the form of big books and lap books. Our authentic voices texts reflect a team of diverse authors and illustrators who tell their stories in their own voices, allowing children to see themselves reflected in text, as well as learn about others. And most importantly, learning with Benchmark Advanced is joyful. Whether students are building foundational skills, deepening their knowledge of foundation or vocabulary, or even critical literacy skills, they're invited to actively participate in the rich learning experience. Let's take a moment to listen to this song from our collection, Sing, Swing, and Learn. In this example, students are singing and learning joyfully about folktales and culture. An example from a grade 2 experience.
History and their stories. Folktales often teach us lessons through their characters and plot.
Thank you so much for that, Stacy. I know those are the music and the is so much fun, and it's great you have that embedded. I do want to make sure our families have a chance in our last bit with you to ask questions. I've seen a couple in the chat, and thank you, Nicole. I see that you're answering those. But maybe you can answer this one. Is there remediation intervention built into Benchmark program for students needing additional support?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that question. It is a comprehensive, both for on-track learning and even supporting learners who need a little extra scoop. So yes, there is differentiated opportunities and intervention, as well as enrichment for those learners that are just running through the sky. So absolutely.
Great. And are there any other questions for Benchmark Education? We have about 3 more minutes with them, and we want to make sure we get your questions answered. I don't see any more questions, but you can put it in the chat if something comes up. And if not, then Stacy, if there's any more that you want to share, sorry, we just wanted to make sure we had pause for the questions from our community.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk with you and your learning community. There's so much to share. It's hard to cram it into 15 minutes, I have to be honest, but we're excited to partner with you as well. Thank you so much for having us.
Stacey, do you want to just show them real quick what the student platform looks like?
Absolutely. Want me to go and going live with that, Jen?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Just real quick, just so they can visually see it.
Quick. I will do it quickly.
And Jen, maybe while she's pulling that up, we do have one question. Is there a specific awareness piece for K2?
Phonemic awareness? Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
here is the dash. Go ahead, Jen.
There's a scope and sequence that we have for K5, and K2 has phonemic awareness in all grade levels for the daily instruction for phonics. Thank you, Lindsay.
So Jen, really quickly, and our audience, here is that online portal. You'll sign in with the code that you were provided. We'll also fit in the chat. And as it pops up, it'll populate with all the opportunities within our portal. There's that box going around with our library, our assignments, inbox, and reading log. You can go right in and take a look at any of those opportunities within that portal. Just click your grade level and explore away. There's lots to do. You'll want to filter. If you can shop in Amazon, you can definitely filter and benchmark. So you'll be able to see a little bit of everything. Just get your grade level, grab a unit, and just dive in.
Great. And we do have, I think, one final question, and then our time with you is over. But are there trainings or guides for teachers to have call and response with students to assist with decoding and phonics?
So let me make sure I understand your question. For call and response, could you repeat that just a little bit? It's in the chat. I can pull it up as well.
Yeah. And Sally, I don't know if you're able to unmute if you want to explain that anymore. Okay, she may not be able to. Oh, she can't unmute.
Can't unmute her.
Yeah.
I can add on maybe a little bit of information about the phonics lessons. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold here, so I sound a little funny. There are instructional routines that are provided with the lessons in the way that they're designed, and it's right there on the page. So there is instruction and there is guidance for the routines and how to facilitate that instruction embedded on the page for foundational skills.
Thank you. And our time unfortunately is over, but I would ask maybe if Benchmark, if you could answer the questions, if you could type in, we do have a couple more questions that just came in our chat. And if you wouldn't mind just answering those before you sign off. We're so grateful for your time here. And Stacy, we know that you hardly had any time to present, and that this is a comprehensive program that has so much more to offer. So many thanks to Benchmark for being here. And I'm going to ask Elise to, if you can put our presentation up again. Okay, so in our next section, we are pleased to welcome Houghton Mifflin Harcourt as our second option for our adoption. Our presenter tonight is going to be Kristen Downing. And Kristen, are you with us? Thought I saw somebody from HMH here.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, hi, Kristen. Okay, welcome. Okay, we will stop presenting for you. And the way this is going to work is we are going to have 15 minutes with you to present, and then we will have a 5-minute question and answer. Again, participants, you are able to write your questions in the chat and we will take those at the end. Or if we're able to take them as they come up, that would be great. So Kristen, you can share your screen.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. All right, and you're ready to begin?
We are ready to begin.
All right, well, welcome. My name is Kristen Downing, and I'm a content specialist with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Thank you for being here today and allowing me to share a little bit about Into Reading with you. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on all of the program resources that will support your students as they work toward becoming proficient readers and writers. Before we do that, I wanted to address a few very important points. One of the questions I often receive from parents and community members is about program quality. We know that an English language arts curriculum is a big investment for districts and that you want to make sure that your child is receiving nothing but the best. To that end, I wanted to share a few things about Into Reading with you. Into Reading is a research-driven and based on the science of reading program. It is filled with authentic literature and trade books. It was reviewed by Ed Reports, an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to ensuring high program quality in curriculum resources. Into Reading received all green ratings, indicative of high quality in this review. It received high marks in the Oregon State Department of Education's rigorous review of curriculum resources. So know that this is a high quality resource used in classrooms across the country to increase reading achievement. So now that you know a bit about the program quality, we'll take a look at how it unfolds in the classroom. The Into Reading instructional model begins with a whole group instruction that includes all of the elements of ELA instruction as outlined by the National Reading Panel research. Small group work is comprised of teacher-led resources or teacher-led small groups, collaborative work, and independent practice. And every day we've built in a whole group wrap up and share. Your students have plenty of opportunities to grow as a reader and writer in the Into Reading classroom. So let's dive into a module of instruction. Into Reading is organized into 3 to 4 week modules of instruction. Each module is built around engaging topics and themes that are connected to students' science and social studies standards so that your student will have the chance to deepen their knowledge of important grade level topics as they build their skills as readers. In this presentation, we'll take a look at a module of instruction from first grade. In this module called Amazing Animals, students have the chance to explore how animals live, and they'll work to answer the essential question, how do animals' bodies help them? Over the course of the module, students will watch videos and read a number of stories to help them answer that essential question. Notice that students are looking at a mix of fiction and informational text as they work through a module of Into Reading. We'll take another look at these stories in a few minutes, but first let's learn more about how we kick off a module of instruction in Into Reading. At the beginning of each module, teachers have access to parent letters available in several different languages that they can print or share digitally. These letters are designed to help you take the classroom learning home. You'll find an overview of the content students will be learning, as well as a few suggestions as how you can help out at home. As it relates to helping your students at home, I'd like to point out that with Into Reading, your child will have a mix of print and digital resources. The digital resources are housed in their student account on our online learning platform, Ed. Let's take a look at this account so that you can see the materials that your child can access online, either in school or at home. This is the student account on Ed. When your child logs in, you'll get a quick bird's eye view of any assignments that are due today, or in some cases overdue. So notice that this student has a game that they can play, a little quiz, or maybe some reading to do. And I can click here to launch the assignment. Now,
right over here in this section, if your student has any sort of hybrid or virtual classes, your child's teacher can set up those class links right here so that their Zoom links, Google Meets links, or their Teams links show up right here so that they don't have to go find it anywhere else. Now, across the top of the screen, you're going to see a couple different tabs. The Discover section is where you're going to find your child's library of Into Reading resources. If they click on the little tile here, they'll be able to access their student My Book. We'll go into this one here. And they will, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the session. You'll have access to all of these different materials that are organized down below. And if you want to see any assignments that are due down the road, you can take a peek under the assignments tab, and you'll have access to that information. Any connected products from the HMH ecosystem will load here as well. Finally, if you want to take a look at your child's progress, you can click on the scores section and open up any of the completed assignments to see your child's progress within assignments that have been given on Ed. So again, Ed is where your Into Reading content lives online. Your students can also access their core curriculum resources offline using the HMH Go app. Each module begins with a little activity to help get students excited and curious about the topic. Teachers can use the Get Curious videos at the beginning of each module to get kids thinking and talking about the new material. For ease of use, teachers can share these with students, or students can access them right from their online student book. Other activities such as these graphic organizers and classroom discussions help students get ready to learn. Once students dive into a module, they'll experience several different types of lessons and activities. Remember, they're learning about exciting new topics like animals, while also building their critical reading skills. So remember the instructional model from earlier. There are a few different types of whole class instructional lessons and activities that students will engage in. One type of lesson that students will encounter at all grade levels will be what are known as the foundational skills lessons. Foundational skills are the building blocks of effective reading instruction and include things like phonics, phonemic awareness, high frequency words, fluency, spelling, and more. This instruction truly is the foundation of proficient reading. As a parent or community member invested in the reading instruction of David Douglas students, it's important to know that the foundational skills instruction in Into Reading is built upon a systematic and research-based sequence. This matters because it ensures that your student receives the most developmentally appropriate and effective reading instruction possible. Teachers have a number of tools to support this instruction, including cards, slideshows, and more. Depending on your child's grade level, they'll work with a number of different tools to build their knowledge of sounds, letters, and spelling. I want to highlight just a few resources that your students will know and love. For example, the Alpha Friend videos are designed to help reinforce the relationship between letters and sounds in a fun and engaging format. Let's take a look at a snippet of one of these videos.
Ice cream, that's an ice cream truck. You'll surely want to buy it with lots of nice designs in red and blue and white. Everybody shiver, now everybody freeze. I have a great idea. Let's have some ice cream, please. Say I want ice cream. Say I want ice cream. Say I want ice.
In addition to the Alpha Friends videos and various kinesthetic cards to help guide instruction, students will also have access to resources to help them practice and apply their new skills. For example, the Start Right readers. As students learn new phonics skills, they'll need an opportunity to practice these decoding strategies in the context of new stories. This is where the Start Right reader comes into play. These are full color, engaging readers written with a connected storyline and consistent characters throughout the entire week. They are a great way for students to truly apply foundational skills in context. Teachers even have access to additional small group lessons using these materials to help reinforce the phonics skills as needed. To provide students with even more opportunities for practice and application, you'll find the Know It, Show It student workbook and our engaging online phonics and vocabulary interactive practice activities on ED. We work so hard on foundational skill development so that students can apply them in the context of authentic literature and begin to read new and unknown text and enjoy them. In Into Reading, your students will have an opportunity to apply some of their new skills in the context of text sets of diverse, authentic, and award-winning selections that are all tied to a science and social studies topic. In kindergarten, your student's teacher will share rich, authentic literature through big books and read-alouds. These books are organized according to topic and serve as the basis for all of students' comprehension skill and strategy development. When we talk about comprehension, we mean your child's ability to understand what they're reading. In addition to the stories that their teacher shares with them, your kindergartner will have their own version of the My Book that serves as a response journal. The Kindergarten My Book is an interactive text that serves as a response journal for students. Students will practice and apply comprehension skills, draw or respond to the text, and review word learning strategies. Beginning in first grade, you'll see that the My Book changes a bit. It is your students' library of grade level stories and text. In print, this full color consumable resource is filled with new and familiar stories and text. Over the course of the year, your student will get multiple consumable My Books, each comprised of several pieces of authentic literature. Students can highlight, take notes, and respond to prompts right in their student My Book. With the My Book, high quality literature, authentic literature will always be accessible to your students. And with students taking their copy home at the end of each module, your child will have a library of stories to enjoy at home. The My Book lives online as well. Let's take a look at this digital resource. What you're seeing on the screen here, let's go into this, is an example of your student's digital My Book. This may look familiar because we saw this a little bit earlier. Remember, we have the same module topic, we have the same essential question. And you may remember that there's a Get Curious video at the beginning of each module too. Notice that these resources are collected right in the student book so that teachers can easily access them and display them, or students can access them on their own at home or in the classroom. As we continue to click through here, notice we introduce some of the vocabulary words with these clickable cards. Again, this is designed to increase engagement and to leverage the digital environment. When we get into an actual book or story here, you'll notice that there is a little bit more of a paginated look and feel. Students can click through and they can read the stories. Notice that the pages look like the pages in their print My Book, and they can play audio. Students have control from right in their student book. Also notice that the students can highlight or they can take notes. Right there in their student book. This is the online student My Book. Students will have access again to that full audio of their grade level text, and they can access this at home through their Ed account or of course in their classroom as well. If you think back to the beginning of the presentation, we talked about how Into Reading is a mix of whole group, small group, and independent learning opportunities for your student. We've talked about some of the whole group lessons and materials, but I want to take a moment to talk about the resources that support small group instruction. When we talk about small group instruction, it is driven entirely by your child's specific needs. Teachers have a number of different assessments that they can use to help determine your child's individual needs as a learner. As a parent or a community member, it's important to know that Into Reading provides students with different ways to show what they know. While we have traditional assessments that provide immediate feedback to teachers, you'll also find that Into Reading provides students with opportunities to demonstrate their learning through discussion, their writing, and more. But the most important thing is that the data helps your teacher make decisions about what your child needs during small group time. So students have access to a large collection of readers designed to extend the topic or give them a chance to do a little independent reading. These readers are available both in print and online in a number of different lengths and formats with accompanying lesson plans. Teachers have access to tabletop mini lessons that connect the whole and small group instruction. The teachers have one set designed to support the development of reading comprehension skills and strategies, but they also have another to help facilitate small group instruction for English language learners. This resource ensures that your students who may not speak English as their primary language have additional support accessing the curriculum. And finally, Into Reading is packed with fun and engaging center materials that support independent learning. We've spent a considerable amount of time talking about the reading instruction found within Into Reading, but the final piece of Into Reading is writing. It's important to know that students have a chance to respond to what they're reading in writing, right in their student MyBook. We know that providing students with an opportunity to write about their reading helps them to solidify new concepts and reinforce comprehension. In addition to responding to reading, students will create their own published writing pieces each module. Teachers will share a story called a focal text that models effective writing, and then students get an opportunity to try to emulate that in their own writing. Notice in this example from the same module in first grade, students get a chance to craft their own research report, and they get the opportunity to make some decisions about their writing topic. We know that giving students choice in their writing helps to improve their engagement. Into Reading provides helpful scaffolds throughout the writer's notebook so that your child is supported throughout every step of the writing process. Finally, for our intermediate students, they can use our online writing tool to publish their writing digitally, preparing them for the transition to middle school. Teaching young readers is a tough but vitally important job, and Into Reading is designed to make it more manageable for teachers and for you. I want to close by taking you back online for just a moment. If it seems like there are a lot of moving parts and activities, there are, which is why we provide parents with a family room. So from the student dashboard, you are able to access the family room where you can get tips for navigating ed or supporting your student with Into Reading. You've had an opportunity to see some of the resources that will help support your students in Into Reading. So let's close with some time to ask questions.
Thank you, Kristen, for that great overview. And you can put your questions. There's a space for you to type them in, or I don't know, Luan, if somebody raises their hand, if we can move them over if there is a question.
Yeah, if someone raises their hand, clicks the raise hand button, I can allow them to talk.
Great. We'll give appropriate wait time. And if there are not any questions, we do still have, Kristen, we still have 4 more minutes with you if there's anything else you want to highlight for us.
Okay, yeah. One thing that I was not able to share that teachers and students alike both seem to appreciate are the module level inquiry and research-based tasks. These include collaborative projects. So sometimes teachers and students are looking for more project-based learning. These address speaking and listening skills and research and media standards, where students can create things like documentaries, book trailers, and news stories to reflect their learning, not just a simple assessment. You'll even find these guided inquiry and research projects that connect to the module's topic or theme and allow students to dig deeper and to learn on their own, and again, support those science and social studies domains.
Thank you. And Kristen, we did get a question. Are any of the online pieces adaptive?
So you do have some adaptive pieces. For one, you have the, let me go here. The growth measure assessment is it's a benchmark assessment that is adaptive. So it will level up and level down as the students progress, and give teachers information like grade level equivalencies and things like that. So, and then help drive some of that instruction. You have, teachers have access to some differentiation and intervention pieces that might extend students' learning in the areas of comprehension and vocabulary, but also very specific lessons in the foundational areas of reading for students that might have certain gaps in those foundational areas of reading. So if we're referring to digitally adaptive, it would be that growth measure assessment. We do have some other connected solutions. If I go in here to all assignments, there are some connected solutions, and some of these are adaptive digital programs.
Kristen, one other question that I answered in the chat earlier was about, are there age appropriate materials for emerging readers at all grade levels? So in the response, I had asked about, or I'd spoken about that growth measure tool and other assessments that will help to drive instruction and determine what the best resources are, as well as the Rigby readers can be assigned across grade levels to give more accessibility to students. If there's anything else you want to add on there, that was one other question that came in.
Yeah, and I think even the foundational skills and word study studio that would provide additional, for example, decodable text for students that might need some extra practice in that area in applying their decoding skills. So that would provide additional resources for students at different levels. As Patty mentioned, the Rigby readers would as well. And then even the tabletop mini lessons, I'm going to go back to those real quick on the slide here. The tabletop mini lessons here are, they are not text specific. So they're going to focus in on certain skills or strategies. In this example, it's make inferences. But because it is not tied to a specific text, teachers are able to pull from the Rigby library that is provided with the program, or they could pull a book of their own and apply this lesson by either leveling it up or leveling it down, because it is not text specific.
Great. And Krista, we have one last question, and then that will close our time with you. But the question is specific instruction in phonemic awareness.
Okay, so that is going to fall under the foundational skills lessons, which is quite an umbrella, but includes phonemic awareness. And instructional routines, not HMH routines, research-based instructional routines are provided for the teachers right there in the lesson plans. So it's all stepped out along with the resources that they would need. There are already built slideshow presentations that are interactive. So if they need to build words, things like that. There are foundational skills lessons built out for every lesson in the program to support teachers, along with those routines scripted out for them to support them in teaching those important foundational skills.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Houghton Mifflin Harcourt for your time here tonight and presenting. Again, we know it's a short amount of time to present a lot of content. So thank you for giving us that high level overview. And thank you for the great questions too from our participants. Very much appreciated. So as you can see, we're gonna go into our closure. We'll say goodbye to HMH. Thank you. And you guys can see we have a really tough decision to make. And I just want to remind you that these programs have already been vetted at the state level and they've been adopted by the State Board of Education. We started with 7. We've narrowed down to these final 2. And Elise is going to go back and show you again how you can give input and where you can access these so you can actually explore a little bit deeper on your own.
Thank you, Brooke. Yes, so just to remind you that we really do want your feedback and we want you to have the access that you're interested in for the curriculum to see what it looks like for your students, what's available, and to get your feedback on our survey. So I'm going to show you where to find all of this information on our district website. You can see here on the screen that if you were to go into our David Douglas, ddouglas.k12.or.us, David Douglas website, you would see under the latest news right here where you can find access to all of our curriculum adoption information for our community. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And here is the page. And I'm going to scroll down. Stop me if you guys can't see this. But scrolling down right here, latest news, tonight's event, our language arts, curriculum adoption, family and community feedback and resources. And I'm going to go ahead and click right here. And now I've been directed to a page that tells a little bit about our adoption process and our request for your input. You can see here as I scroll down that we have a lot of resources for our elementary group. Next week, we are presenting about our middle school curriculum that we are piloting and our high school curriculum. But our focus this week has been on elementary. So you can see that I can click on the website, the link here, and it leads me to a document that tells me a little bit about the benchmark materials that we viewed as the first presenter. Down at the bottom of the page is the link to access the demo account. So you'll find that right here where you can click on that. And that's where you'll be able to explore more about the benchmark curriculum. I'm going to go back to our David Douglas website, where you can also see the Houghton Mifflin materials. That was our second publisher who presented to us. And if you click here, you're going to be directed to the directions for logging in and finding the materials. And here is when I click on here, I'm going to use this username and this password to get the student view. So to see what students are going to see. I'm going to go back again to our website. So I'm back on that page. And finally, what you will see is the survey. And the survey has been translated, and we will continue to provide translated resources for our families to access the demo accounts. But the survey has been translated. I'm going to click on the English version. And here you're able to read a little bit about the adoption process, that the survey is due March 21st. We are not sharing email addresses. It's not being collected. No data from your family is being collected that you're not marking on this form. And you would choose the elementary school that your student or students attend, the grade level. And then what we have for you available for your feedback is asking you to rate the most important priorities that will impact your students' success in learning to read and write. And so we know that all of these are very important, but we would like to see what is the most important. Perhaps this one is for your family. And then maybe this is the next one. And you would mark which ones are the most important. You're going to rate them. And if you've had a chance to review the materials, either by attending tonight, watching the recording, or reviewing the demo accounts, then you might want to respond to this question. It's optional. And letting us know what you believe if benchmark and into reading would be viable and positive materials for your student. You would mark what you believe. And if you had any comments or any questions for us, again, this is optional. And we would share this information with our decision-making team. That is the team members that Brooke shared with you at the beginning of this presentation, that we have team members from every school, and they are ultimately the ones who are piloting the materials, getting the feedback from their students, looking at the feedback from other teachers, and looking at your feedback to make this very important decision for our students. So we really would like to see your feedback on this survey. And you can find it again, let me go back, on our district website. And please fill this out by March 21st, right at the very beginning of spring break. That will give us a chance to take a look at that data and share it with our decision-making team. So it looks like we have a question in our chat. And the question is around if we are purchasing all parts of either curriculum, and what kind of professional learning, what kind of training would we provide for our teachers? And so we are really looking at getting our pilot team, our teachers, feedback around what it takes to implement the materials. So during our decision making, we will get their recommendations, and we will work with the publisher around their recommendations as well, and develop a plan for implementing the materials, knowing that we can't just hand everything over, that we do need to have a very strategic, very systematic way of supporting our teachers' use of these materials and understanding how they were developed, how the scope and sequence, the pathways of learning are developed within the program, and sharing that with our teachers. So yes, we will have professional learning plan for our teachers that will be ongoing for next year and the year following. This is a process. It is a journey. The next question is DDSD purchasing all parts of either curriculum. So I'm going to say that we are going to purchase the parts that are considered the core curriculum. That is what we are, our intention and what we are looking for, and what we need for this year is a core curriculum. So the main materials for our students. Additional materials could be something that we look at, but tonight's presentation for you should have included all of the materials that would be considered core. We have asked the publishers not to share any additional extras until we are aware of what we need. And what we need right now is a core program. So what was shared with you should be the materials that we can be able to provide for our students. And I'll open it up to my team as well to see if there's anything we can add to that response.
Yeah, and we do have a finite budget, but obviously once we make the decision of which publisher we want to adopt, and we take the recommendation to the school board, and ultimately it is our school board that will approve that curriculum, then we start working with the publishers on what is included in that core. And I think our best case scenario is we definitely want to purchase a blended package that has the digital components and the print components, because after, comprehensive distance learning, we feel like we need both, and we need to be fluid in being able to be digital, but also there's times when we want books in hands of kids. So that is ideal. That is what we will strive to do. But again, it all does have to fall within the constraints of the budget that we have for the adoption. We are adopting, as we mentioned, elementary, middle, and high. So we have to work with all of those grade levels.
Thank you, Brooke. So again, oh, yes, please.
One more question. You'll like this question about letters. Elise, very exciting. I'll let you take that one.
Yeah. If we are considering training educators in letters, that's an acronym, or another comprehensive training in the science of reading. The science of reading has been a foundation of our adoption process. So we have definitely been using that to frame what our priorities are, what our look fors are, and as well as to learn more about that science of reading and what we would see within a curriculum. We have currently 24 educators who have signed up for letters training. It is a 2-year commitment, and they have started this winter. And we have 5 already on the waiting list. Our reading specialists at all of our elementary schools have done an in-depth book study with the support of ODE on the science of reading, and we will continue to do ongoing training around that. We do have several of our reading specialists and achievement specialists who are attending an MESD trainer of the trainers science of reading training, and they are sharing that information currently with their teachers. And again, we will continue with that and embed that within our curriculum adoption process so that our teachers understand why certain components are within the curriculum and how they can be used and the impact that has on student instruction. So it's very exciting that we are adopting at this time. We have a few more questions. So I have a question of, would either of these programs increase the percentage of time students are on screens in class? Does either program focus more on providing materials that support interactions between students and the teacher? Currently, we see that both elementary curriculum offer a lot of hands-on materials for students. What you'll see in the demo accounts is online materials, but there are definitely word cards and letter cards. I've seen some whiteboards. I've seen a lot of small books for students to have in their hands and to work with, and then different books for them to be writing in. So I'm seeing a balance between materials for students to work with in class and not be only on screen. I hope that answers your question. I think that our piloting teachers are going to have a more in-depth understanding about that as they work with the materials. And I invite you to reach out to your school and ask those questions of the teachers who are piloting the materials to learn more. Thank you. Just to close again, really asking that you fill out that feedback survey. Again, your voice is so important in this process, and we want to elevate that along with our student voice. We started out this process with student voice, and we are ending with that as well through our piloted teachers asking the students for their feedback around their experiences with the materials. And we would really want to have your feedback as well to be used on that day for decision making. So again, invite you to fill out that survey by March 21st. And that, I believe, is our last slide of the evening. So really want to thank you for your time tonight, and always feel free to reach out. On the website is an email to reach out if you're unable to access the demo accounts, if you're unable to access the survey. If you reach out to and email Nancy Leggett, we will be able to get you the resources that you need and to help problem solve. So thank you again for your time this evening, and for hopefully your input and feedback.